So welcome to the Australian Stonehenge and Sacred Sites talk. I would like to start out by showing my respect for our great teachers and land custodians of past and present and their wonderful story keeping, traditional ways and lifestyles when existing in synergy with this magnificent island continent we call Australia. This presentation was created in the spirit of Wiritjin. This word's significance is more a prophecy than a dictionary meaning. In essence, it represents what they say, the elders say, is black fella and white fella both dreaming and working together. Fella being an Australian colloquial term for man. This presentation is purely the product of the author's own experiences and research and is by no way intended to undermine any other researcher's perspective. The intention is that the research, ideologies and theories and hypotheses presented here combine to form some unique perspectives and pieces of the puzzle in uncovering the secrets of these Australian sacred sites. My aim here is to give you an overview of a selection of the many sites I've visited and their ancient stories, unexplained phenomenon, and the vibrational technologies utilized to build and activate them. Firstly, I will be going over some terminology and a few myths, theories, and filling in potential hidden historical timelines so you have a good basis in these concepts. We'll be covering in relation to these sites. Then we shall delve into exposing some of the most phenomenal standing stone sites, portals, caves, and energy spots that I have visited in this great southern land, with a particular focus on this presentation on east coast of Australia, particularly Queensland and New South Wales. As I will be covering a combination of personal research, others' research passed on to me, some ideologies and esoteric beliefs and practices, please choose to use your own discretion and inner compass on this journey. If anything I present here does not resonate, feel free to discard it, just as I hope that some bits of information you will also find beneficial and may want to retain and research further and discover deeper inner standings too. Whether looking at research by archaeological, acoustic engineers or historians, I often find they often come from a very left-brain style of thinking. You'll often hear specialists in a field say things like, well, we know this hypogeum or sound resonance cave resonates perfectly at 111 hertz, but we can only speculate as to why. For this research and presentation, I found it most beneficial to bring together studies and opinions from all sides, not just acoustic engineers, historians and researchers, but also by visiting these sites to feel their etheric, vibrational and esoteric significance. As a musician, composer and trainer of sound healing practitioners, and as a Life Path 11 vibrational wizard, I will be presenting a different take on some of these more talked about sites than you may be used to, and introduce you to some never before released publicly and the magic that encompasses these places. One thing I often found was that the sites that were most hidden or often ignored often had the most powerful portals and energetic grids surrounding and running through them. Traveling van life for the past 11 years and utilizing sacred plants of our land and powerful practices like bare feet earthing and sun gazing, I found I became like an antenna or receiver for picking up on the beacons that some of these sites were sending out. It was like they were calling me to them. Along the journey, I felt like a remembering, a deja vu, feeling that I knew these sites from either before or a parallel reality or place. Often I would be exploring the east coast of Australia in my van and getting the message to suddenly pull over and enter a property, sometimes even climbing fences and entering the site until I got to know the owners or neighbouring landowners. Being called to a sacred site is a similar experience to being called to a book in a bookshop or a plant in nature that has the healing powers or the information we need at the time. You may have experienced one of those. This extrasensory gift is aided by the connection of our vibrational antenna of our hair, using our pineal gland, our heart and sacral chakras as receptors. Bare feet earthing and being completely in the now, clearing the mind of future anxieties and past traumas aids this process significantly. So what is a vibrational wizard? Well, hey, my name is Robbie Thompson, also known as the Vibrational Wizard, and I have a Viking spirit and a rainforest soul. I'm an author, composer, mentor, workshop facilitator, and keynote speaker featured on many stages, albums, and publications. I've authored books including Frequency of Light, Wild Foraging East Coast Australia, and the upcoming Off-Grid Living New Earth Builders Handbook, and also the upcoming sequel to Frequency of Light entitled Frequency of Power. Workshops and offerings I have include sound healing practitioners and tuning fork certificate courses, 7 albums in magical frequencies, plus bonus songs, plus modules and books on off-grid living, self-healing, bodily cleansing protocols, life force energy, building plants and practices, frequency magic, and wild foraging for food, medicinal, and wild crafting purposes, particularly along the east coast of Australia. For over a decade now, I've lived van life exploring the hidden magic of this land called Australia. I'm fascinated by this country and have felt the calling to document my experiences first along the east coast and then move to other areas and also document their sacred sites. Gondwana, the greatest rainforest of them all. Once stretching from the hinterland ranges of the Gold Coast in southern Queensland all the way down to Dorrigo in north central New South Wales, and possibly beyond, was the greatest rainforest of them all. And when I say the greatest rainforest of them all, I'm not by any means joking around or pulling your leg. You see, one day on my travels, I found a solitarily lonely plaque in a sleepy coastal New South Wales town that talked of this once great rainforest that was bigger than the Amazons, that was cut down around 80 years ago, leaving less than just 1% remaining today. The significance of this rainforest was immense, and the meeting place of coastal Byron Bay was one of the entrances to this great nature corridor for visitors from other lands. There are documented reports from woodsmen saying that you could walk for many days under the thick canopy of this ancient forest and never once see the sun or sky. The trees were huge beyond our current comprehension. I have visited one of the tallest trees left in Gondwana, a giant tallow wood that is in Meagan, a town near Dorrigo, New South Wales, and it is impressive at around 56 metres tall, but would have been considered a baby compared to some of the ancient trees that were here just 100 years ago. Along with this mega rainforest, the size the modern world has never seen, would have been all the flora and fauna, their exotic plants and animals that many may no longer exist because of logging and animal agriculture. You may have heard of the theory that the stumps of many of the now most giant trees that were cut down across the world are now what we think of as mountains. I believe Lord's Table Mountain, that you're looking at right now, in Queensland, to be one of the world's best examples of a giant tree stump. Now, when we look at trees, what they were back then, the belief we have, or some of us have, is that there was a silicon world back then. That's why even entities, beings, and animals were so much larger. described in scriptures, and trees were so much bigger. So Lord's Table Mountain is around 2.5 kilometres long and up to 300 metres wide. Also, the otherworldly mountains and caves in Chilago, far north Queensland, resemble megalithic petrified hollowed out trees also. I highly recommend visiting Chilago if you are interested in the connection between ancient petrified cut down trees and mountains, as this place is absolutely mind-blowing.